A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 43. When Jeremiah had finished telling all the people all the words of the Lord their God, with which the Lord their God had sent him to them, all the words quoted above, Azariah, son of Hoshea, and Johanan, son of Kareah, and all those arrogant men said to Jeremiah, "You are lying. The Lord our God did not send you to say, 'Do not go to Egypt and settle there.' It was Baruch, son of Neriah, who keeps inciting you against us to hand us over to the Chaldeans so that they can put us to death or deport us to Babylon." So neither Johanan nor any of the military leaders nor any of the people obeyed the voice of the Lord by staying in the land of Judah. Instead, Johanan, son of Kareah, and all the military leaders led off the entire remnant of Judah, those who had come back from all the nations where they had been driven to live in the country of Judah. Men, women, children, the daughters of the king, and every single person that Nebuzaradan, commander of the guard, had left with Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, including the prophet Jeremiah and Baruch, son of Neriah. And so, in disobedience to the voice of the Lord, they reached Egypt and arrived at Tahpanhes. Jeremiah foretells the invasion of Egypt by Nebuchadnezzar. At Tahpanhes, the word of the Lord was addressed to Jeremiah, saying, "Take some large stones and bury them in the cement on the terrace outside the entrance of Pharaoh's palace in Tahpanhes, in the sight of the Judeans. Then say to them, 'Thus says the Lord God of Israel, Look, I shall send for my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he will place his throne on these stones I have buried, and spread his royal canopy over them. When he comes, he will strike the land of Egypt, those for the plague to the plague, those for captivity to captivity, those for death to death, those for the sword to the sword. He will set fire to the temples of the gods of Egypt. He will burn these gods or take them prisoner. He will pick the land of Egypt clean as a shepherd picks his cloak clean of vermin, and then leave from there in safety. He will break the obelisks of the temple of the sun at On in the land of Egypt and burn down the temples of the gods of Egypt. The Jews and the Queen of Heaven." The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 44, The Jews and the Queen of Heaven. The word that came to Jeremiah for all the Judeans living in the land of Egypt, in Migdol, Tahpanhes, Noph, and the territory of Pathros. Thus says the Lord Sabaoth, God of Israel, you have seen the disaster I have brought on Jerusalem and all the towns of Judah. Look at them. Today they lie in ruins and uninhabited because of the wicked deeds they committed to provoke my anger by going and offering incense and serving other gods, whom neither they, nor you, nor your ancestors had ever known. Yet I had persistently sent you all my servants, the prophets, to say, you must not do this loathsome thing which I hate. But they would not listen or pay attention or turn from their wickedness and stop offering incense to other gods. And so my furious wrath was poured out, burning down the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem, which were reduced to ruins and wasteland, as they still are today. And now, thus says the Lord God Sabaoth, God of Israel, why are you bringing such great disaster on yourselves by cutting yourselves off from Judah, your men, women, children, and babes in arms, so as to leave yourselves no remnant, provoking my wrath by your actions, offering incense to other gods in the land of Egypt, where you have come to settle, as though bent on your own destruction and on becoming a curse and a laughingstock for all the nations of the earth? Have you forgotten the wicked deeds of your ancestors, of the kings of Judah, and of your princes, your own wicked deeds and those of your wives, committed in the land of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? To this day, they have felt neither contrition nor fear. They have not observed my law or my statutes, which I prescribed for you and for your ancestors. Therefore, thus says the Lord Sabaoth, God of Israel, look, I have determined on disaster and shall destroy Judah completely. I shall take the remnant of Judah who are determined to come to the land of Egypt and settle there, and in the land of Egypt they will perish. They will fall by the sword or perish of famine, from least to greatest. By sword and famine they will die and be an object of execration and horror, a curse, a laughingstock. I shall punish those who live in the land of Egypt just as I punished Jerusalem, by sword, famine, and plague. Of the remnant of Judah, which has come to settle in Egypt, not a single one will escape or survive to return to the land of Judah, where they long to return and live. For none of them will return, except a few fugitives. At this, all the men who knew that their wives offered incense to other gods, and all the women who were standing there, a great crowd, and all the people living in the land of Egypt, in Patros, answered Jeremiah, saying, we have no intention of listening to the word you have just spoken to us in the Lord's name, but intend to go on doing all we have vowed to do, offering incense to the Queen of Heaven, and pouring libations in her honor as we used to do. We and our ancestors, our kings and chief men in the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. We had food in plenty then. We lived well. We suffered no disasters. But since we gave up offering incense to the Queen of Heaven and pouring libations in her honor, we have been destitute and have perished either by sword or by famine. Besides, when we offer incense to the Queen of Heaven and pour libations in her honor, do you think we make cakes for her with her features on and pour libations to her without the knowledge of our husbands? To all the people, men and women, all those who had made this answer, Jeremiah replied, the incense you offered in the towns of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem, you, your ancestors, your kings, your chief men, and the people at large, was this not what the Lord had in mind and found so repellent that the Lord could not endure your misdeeds and your loathsome practices any longer, with the result that your land has become the uninhabited ruin, the object of horror and cursing that it is today, because you offered incense, because you sinned against the Lord, refusing to listen to the voice of the Lord or to observe his law, his statutes, and his decrees. That is why the present disaster has overtaken you. Further, Jeremiah said to all the men and all the women, "Listen to the word of the Lord, all you Judeans who are in the land of Egypt. Thus says the Lord Sabaoth, God of Israel, you and your wives, what you promised by your mouths, you have fulfilled by your hands. You said, we shall punctiliously fulfill the vows we have made and offer incense to the Queen of Heaven and pour libations in her honor. Very well. Keep your vows, perform them punctiliously. Therefore, listen to the word of the Lord, all you Judeans living in the land of Egypt. I swear by my great name, says the Lord, that my name will no longer be uttered by any person of Judah throughout the land of Egypt. No one will say, as the Lord lives. I shall keep my eye on them for disaster, not for prosperity. And all the Judeans in the land of Egypt will perish either by the sword or by famine until they are wiped out. Yet though few in number, those who escape the sword will return from the land of Egypt to the land of Judah. Then the entire remnant of Judah, which has come and settled in the land of Egypt, will know whose word comes true, mine or theirs. And here is the sign for you, declares the Lord, that I shall punish you in this place, so that you will know that the words with which I threaten you will come true. Thus says the Lord, look, I shall hand Pharaoh Hophra, king of Egypt, over to his enemies and to those determined to kill him, just as I handed Zedekiah, king of Judah, over to his enemy, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, who was determined to kill him. The word of the Lord.